Here we go. We live, man. Cooking a dope in a crack pot. Okay. Hello, everybody, man. Hello, I have 4 people watching, I think. Hello. So good to be back. This is the Patreon live stream. Special live stream for 2019, July 25th. And we here, man, and got a lot of stuff going. Oh shit, 5 people. If everybody wants to ask me any questions, man, hit me up in the chat. I'll be answering questions and stuff and all this stuff. I'm so happy you guys watching, man. I wanted to do this kind of later, mainly because I had a lot of work, but then I also thought, you know, it's kind of easier for people to watch at this time. So anyway, I did a little vote. On Patreon on what you guys want to see. And you guys voted for sketching from imagination. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Joshua said, can't hear you. Nah, bruh. You sure, though? You sure? Because the shit with the OBS says you can't hear me. Wait, let me check it myself. No, I can hear myself clearly, man. Oh, this live stream shit always has some problems. Hit me up again, man. Let me know if you can hear me. But anyway, so 2 things I'm gonna be talking about today. I'm gonna be talking about sketching from imagination. I'm doing this thing, sketch with Angel, draw with Angel, never mind. Okay, so nice to see you, Joshua, man. How you doing? And another thing, I'm gonna be doing a critique portfolio on one of my new patrons, Eva Eller. So thank you so much to her for, you know, sending me her portfolio. If anybody wants to wants me to review their portfolio, please send it on my email, angelganef6@gmail.com. I have the lightning projector over here, so my face is white as shit, but I thought it's better than the fucking lightning from the window. Anyway, I have some notes here for Eva. We're gonna get through her portfolio, and it's pretty long. I love the illustrations, I love everything. I'm gonna give you some feedback and stuff. So here we go. The first page is like a knight with her name underneath it and stuff. And the thing about portfolios, first thing I wanted to mention is she's young as fuck, okay? She was born in the 2000s, so that makes her like 19, okay? So shout out to Eva, man. Like, you're a hustler. When I was 19, I was fucking, I don't know, drawing dicks and shit in high school. So the fact that you even have a portfolio at 19 is fucking impressive, okay? So everything that I say, you should, like, you know, you should think about the compliments first. So anyway, I feel like portfolios are kind of dead. I feel like it's a thing of the past. You know, once, you know, in the past, people were like, you know, they didn't have Instagram. They were like, just send me your portfolio. But now when you have an Instagram, I think it's kind of useless. So the only purpose for a portfolio is if you want to send it to like a school or to like a job, right? So really, before I even critique your work, you really should be asking. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention is how great her landscapes are, though. Look at that landscape. Holy shit. She's 19 doing that shit, bruh. Man, you picked the right ass shit to do in life. So anyway, who is this for? This is my first critique. Is you really need to be thinking that the portfolio should be either for school or it should be for a job, right? And if it's for a school, it should be targeting exactly what the school wants to see. And if it's for a job, it should be targeting exactly what the job wants to see. And I wanted to give you the props of actually, like, she even wrote like main focus, capabilities, preferences, and that's great because a lot of people, oh, she's here. Oh yeah, I use that to send to editors and publishers. That's great, man. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy she's here actually. So first thing, I really like the fact that, you know, you actually have you know, like a focus, you know, like you actually want to know, you know what you want to do, because a lot of things, a big thing that beginners do wrong is they're always like drawing a lot of things at the same time, and companies don't even look at them serious enough because they're like, well, how are you drawing characters and fucking prop designs and landscapes all at the same time? You know, you need to focus. So I'm giving you props for focusing, but I feel like you should focus even more. Because the thing is, like, you have a painting of a dog, you have some buttons, you have illustrations, you have portraits even. On top of that, you added some photo bashing, which is, oh, Joshua says, Eva, I love your landscapes. I know, right? Her landscapes are crazy good. So The thing is, you really need to just pick one thing and really become a master. And then when you actually become a master, like, you're on the way to go with the landscapes. You know, I don't really see any point of you posting even like portraits and dogs and stuff. Like, you know, if this is what you want to do, that's exactly what should you be doing. But I have more, you know, notes to talk about because it's kind of more complicated. So the thing is, if you want to do concept, there's two main things, right? So there's concepting and then there's illustration. So when you work in a company, there's really two things. There's the things that people in the company see, and then there's the things that actually the public sees, right? And the public is more rendered stuff, it's more illustration, it's things that are already thought out, right? Like, you get the idea and you just kind of make it prettier. You kind of come up with mood designs. You kind of come up, you know, you pretty much what you did, you know, for like a game, you know, that can be like a scene in a movie or a game. And then the concept is more about you coming up with the props and coming up with all this stuff. And you really have to decide one or the other. You know, you can't really just on one page, you know, have like I don't know, like a storytelling piece, and then on the other you have like a bunch of sketches. So the thing is, if you want to do storytelling, that's exactly what you should be doing. You should have a bunch of storytelling sketches, you know, like thumbnails, like little, you know, color changes and all this stuff. And if you want to do concept, you should be doing like sketches of buildings and all this stuff, right? And I feel like I don't know, I feel like the thing about portfolios is that it doesn't even, like, I feel like a lot of people are just trying to impress with a portfolio. Like, a portfolio is not to impress people. A portfolio is like, hey, look at me, I can do this job, right? So I don't think you should even like add this. Like, it looks pretty, it really looks pretty, but all this stuff like techniques, digital art, ink, watercolor, you know, oil, I think it's kind of confusing. I even wrote it down, you know, like, either don't mix traditional or digital. Okay, there's nothing wrong with you doing both, but maybe you can do like a separate portfolio for each, you know, because honestly, I feel like if you're going in for a job, you know, let's say to do illustration or to do, you know, digital art or anything, and you show traditional sketches, I feel like people kind of like not take you seriously, because like, you're on your job, you're only gonna be doing digital art, so nobody's gonna ask about the traditional anyway. So that's my main, you know, critique is just pick one and really stick to it, right? And what else did I write? No photo bash unless all your work is photo bash. Yeah. In the end, you hear over here, you had like a photo bash piece, and I'm not really for photo bash. I mean, I'm not against it. It's just, it's something that I never really, you know, understood, because it's like, I just enjoy painting in general. But I know a lot of people, you know, it helps them, and a lot of companies actually use it. But that's you know, where I go back to, you know, what is the company that you want to go in? You know, you said you know, you send this to editors and publishers. The thing is, when you're sending somebody, you know, like a portfolio, you really should be thinking, who is this person? Like, what are they looking out? You know, what are they looking from me? And it's kind of like what that advice is for playing, you know, like when you're playing poker, you know, it's like, don't play the game, but play the player. Does that make sense? So you're not really just trying to like impress everybody. You're just trying to impress this one person so they can hire you. So you really, you know, you really need to find out what they're looking for. You know, are they looking for illustrations? Are they looking for storytelling? Are they looking for sketches? So I feel like you already have the fundamentals a little bit. Depending on what you know, I feel like you're kind of intermediate at everything, and then the landscapes are a little bit more advanced. So I really feel like you should focus on just one thing so you can become a master. And then it also, you know, depends on your goals and, you know, on all this stuff that you need to kind of figure out. But yeah, definitely, I wouldn't mix like I don't even know. I think I've seen the reference of that. So I feel like that this is like a study, and that's definitely a no-no. I mean, I do a lot of studies, you know, on my Instagram, but if I was to send, you know, like a portfolio to a company, I would never add studies, because, you know, it's like, you know, with the study, you're really just showing like the rendering, you know, you're not really showing design, you're not really showing anything creative, you know. And but you know, you can kind of argue, if you were to do illustration, you can kind of show some studies, but you know, it really depends. So again, but I feel like you're still young as fuck though. If you're still watching, Eva, can you write me, like, are you still in school? Like, what are you doing? you know. And you wrote you're an illustrator, a graphic designer, and designing development for book series, illustrating in large quantities per project. Children classics, adventure novels, detectives. Yeah, I feel like it's all great, but I feel like you should narrow it even more. Because the thing about nowadays is that, you know, with things like Fiverr and all these websites, it's really, really hard to find work unless like you're really exceptional. And the only way to be exceptional is to really find out one thing, right? And really just spend fucking years. And I mean, unless you know you enjoy like doing fucking children books for like $5 a piece or something, but I don't think that's anybody's goal. You know, you should respect yourself, you should respect your work, and you know, just find a way to just find out what people are looking for and how to, you know, how you can provide that shit. So anyway, I hope this helps. So again, stay away from the photo bashing. Again, if that's, you know, if the company only does photo bash, then go ahead and do only photo bash. But don't have a fucking sketch and then have a photo bash right, you know, right next to each other, because it look super unprofessional. Because it's like, you know, like, well, if you're adding photo bashing here, that means that you're not really comfortable with painting these complicated landscapes, and then you just did it like a drawing of a tree. You know, it's confusing. But your work is really great though. So I've seen a lot of portfolios where people just have like terrible work, so it's kind of hard for me to tell them like that there's no hope for you, bro. But you know, there's actually hope for you, Eva. So I'm happy, man. I'm happy you signed up for my Patreon. I'm happy. Do you want to improve? So those are kind of like the things I wanted to talk about, you know. But the landscapes though, they crazy, bro. They crazy good. So maybe do more landscapes and kind of like get like a landscape portfolio. And what you can do is actually, if you want to do like landscapes, you can actually like show like different mood pieces, and then just show one of them finished, or like many of them finished, or however much you want to, and then just show like a bunch of, you know, pre-work or kind of like your steps. Because like that's the thing, is that if people really want to work with you, they kind of want to see your process, because you know they want to know, you know, that you're reliable. They want to know how you work, you know. They want to see, you know, what you're gonna send them. Like I'm working with this YouTuber, I don't know if you know them, Mr. Suicide Sheep, and when they commission me for a job, they want to know, you know, like when are you gonna send the sketch and all this stuff. Joshua asked Eva, what's your Instagram? Her Instagram is it's right here, I think. It's Eva Eller Art, but it's like, it has like the bottom thing. This is her Instagram, Eva Eller Art. So anyway, enough ranting with that shit. Eva, I hope this helps. You know, just focus on one thing and get better, man. That's pretty much the advice that I give to 99% of the people. So anyway, now that we're done with the portfolio, and if anybody wants me to review their portfolio and all this shit, please send it to my email, angelgan f6@gmail.com. So back to sketching with imagination. Recently, I don't know if you've been watching my works on Instagram, but I've been doing this thing, Sketch with Angel, and I actually been, you know, just drawing some characters with like references and stuff, and I was really inspired. I inspired a lot of people but then actually like a lot of people, I don't know, I guess they reported me because I was sharing other people's photos and all this shit, which, you know, they kind of have a point, but not really. But I respect their opinion and all this shit. So I started out a new hashtag called Draw with Angel, and I decided I'm gonna be doing characters mainly from imagination. And this is kind of like the first character that I did last week. And as you probably know, if you follow me for a little bit of time, I'm not really comfortable with working from imagination. You know, I've always felt like a fake artist. I don't even feel like a real artist. So working from imagination has always been uncomfortable for me. But I really wanted to take this opportunity to push myself and work more from imagination. So these are kind of like the sketches that I did before I did this final sketch. And funny enough, you know, I know a lot of artists are like really comfortable with just sketching, and then it's hard for them to finish their work. But for me, it's always been the opposite. Like for me, the colors and the lightning is what's fun, and it's really just comfort zone. And then the sketches is kind of like, oh, like I have to come up with ideas. Like I don't want to do that. So I kind of wanted to show you my thought process behind, you know, like these fucking sketches because I'm gonna do a new character tomorrow, and I kind of have some ideas. And really, just sketching from imagination is like thinking on paper. You know, you're really just putting down your ideas, and then you just take one, and you know, you really focus it. But that focusing work, I don't think I'm on that level yet where I can, you know, talk and actually focus. But for now, I'm definitely gonna show you the thought process. And I actually, by the way, let me show you this. Even though I said this is from imagination, don't tell anybody, but I always use a little bit of reference, okay? Just for the inspiration and stuff. So don't tell anybody, but I'm gonna show you what I used. Wait, so this is kind of like the picture that I used for inspiration. So I always like, I don't know how other artists do it, you know, I don't really have that many art friends and stuff. I really just look at people's Instagrams and I try to copy them. So I've always found that it's just super inspirational for me to look at references. So I feel like even when working from imagination and creating things from your head, you should still use, you know, like a little bit of inspiration. Like for example, my previous character had like horns, and I just found this picture from Feeble Demons, and I just really like the horns and the glasses, and I was like, you know what, let me just draw a demon with a fucking horns and glasses. And it was actually like a great idea. And as you go, you know, as you work on it, you kind of develop more ideas. Like as you can see, I developed the idea of like her crying the fucking tears, and then having the red circles on her face, and that all adds to the character. And you know, with the barcode and the hair and all and everything, and then the little stars. And something that I've kind of found about working in this style and working with imagination is really the simplicity. Because I feel like what a lot of people do, and by the way, this is like a draw this in your style challenge, which actually makes even more sense for what I'm about to say, because you really need to keep it simple with colors and with color combinations and everything. And I've said this before, every time you add a color in your painting, there should always be at least one more place where there's that color. You know, you should never just add a color and be like, oh, I'm just gonna add some blue here, and then just not have any blue. So if you look at the green, you know, she has green on the stars, on the eyes, you know, on the horns, you know. And even like I was thinking like, how can I, you know, mix the choker, and I actually like had the same color as her shirt as the choker. And you know, then you have the pink hair, and you know, the thing on her cheeks, the little circles, they're not truly pink, but they're kind of like in the same hue, you know what I'm saying? So always be, you know, combining things and think about, because like that's the thing about when you're creating something, it's really the mood, you know, the vibe that it kind of gives you off. And the mood is created by two things. It's really just color and lighting, right? Like that's why all the books are color and light, and all this stuff is really the combination of the two. So once you figure out, and you always need to figure out kind of like the colors first, but then figure out the lighting, and then actually paint the colors. Because if you just actually, I mean it depends on the character, but for me and for this character, it was mostly about the color combination, and then I just figured to add like a backlighting just to kind of make the character pop. But yeah, it's just super important for you to really know what this character is all about, and mainly the colors and the design. So I really just, before I started out with this character, I really knew that I wanted her to have pink hair, I wanted her to have horns, and I wanted to have like long like hair kind of going everywhere, right? And then probably the green eyes. And I was just thinking, how can I combine the green eyes with a lot of different things? So those are kind of like the mental notes that I keep to myself when I start out with that. And let me show you the sketches again. And the thing is, when you first start out, the first sketch is always going to be a little bit boring, right? The first sketch is always just going to be like the general pose. And then you can just kind of switch it around, right? You switch it around, it becomes more interesting. And the thing is, you should always expand on your ideas, right? If you look at this sketch, actually I didn't even have, I don't think I even have the circles. So the first sketch, I just had the idea about the horns. And then I was like, well, what if she actually like, what if she's crying? You know, what if she's like a sad demon, right? And the first, DJ said from an earlier video, I remember you said most beginners need to start you. Wait, what? DJ, can you write that again, man? I don't think I understood. I remember you said most beginners need to start you. I guess that's YouTube. I don't know what that is, but So what was I saying? Yeah, always develop on the character. So first thing I thought is that this was just like a demon girl, right? And then I was like, well, what if she's like kind of sad, you know? Actually, I think this like on the bottom was the second sketch, and then the third one. And that's funny because always like your one of your last sketches is gonna be the best. So you should never just give up on the first one. You know, you shouldn't be just like, oh my god, he's so good. Because I, 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 I'm telling you, if you just keep going, you're gonna get better ideas, right? So never fucking stop on the first or the second sketch. I think even like 3 sketches is like too little, but for me, it's just so uncomfortable to be doing sketches that I actually kind of give up. But you shouldn't though. You shouldn't take fucking examples from me. So that's kind of like the things that I had, the mental notes that I had about the character. And today's character that I'm gonna be showing how to do, I actually have some oh, I actually closed them. Let me open them. Actually, I'm not gonna lie though. I actually did a little bit of sketching before I started this because I'm just so uncomfortable. But I made sure to I'll make sure to start out with a fucking clean ass file. Okay, DJ says start drawing pure rev. So you do you think creativity is hindering them? Oh, so DJ asks, do you think creativity hinders beginners? Yeah, definitely. It kind of depends. Again, it kind of depends on your goals. But if you're a beginner and you kind of struggle with anatomy and you struggle with with lighting and colors and all this shit, I don't think you should even be doing imagination drawings. Because it's really just you're just going. I've talked about this before. You're really just mowing over the same information. Like that's the thing, when you're first starting out, you really don't know shit. Like you just know like 5 things. You just draw the same nose over and over again. And actually you can actually kind of argue that it's actually even hurting you a little bit, because you just keep making the same mistake, right? Like if you draw a portrait with a mistake and then you just draw it like 100 times, that mistake actually becomes ingrained, right? And I've seen this in people who, like, for example, like draw like one eye like kind of shaped weirdly, and then they just do it over again, and that becomes their style. Their style is one eye is fucked up. And I don't know, I really think you should nail down the fundamentals and all this stuff before you actually get to applying, because that's the thing. Imagination drawing is really you applying what you learn a bunch of stuff, and then you're like, okay, how do I actually apply this and make it interesting? But I don't think I'm even on that point. But I have to be honest, I've been slacking with imagination. Ultimately I feel like you should start the imagination like around like your 3rd or 4th year, depending on how much you work. And I've really been painting for like 6 years now, and my my reference work is just out of the world, and then my imagination work is kind of whack as fuck. But it better sooner than never, right? So it's just kind of come to a point now. But sorry about that. Anyway, so I kind of have some 3 references for here, and today's character, I was just thinking, how can I create something that for some reason I really thought the turban or the hijab or whatever was just like an interesting idea. So I kind of find out this reference, and then I was just looking for something like a more interesting angle just to kind of see the hijab just going around the head, and this is what I found. And then I was thinking maybe she can have kind of like something on her forehead. So this is like the 3rd reference that I found. So I'm gonna try to complement all of the 3 references into like one character, and really like create like more like details as I go along. And that's the thing, is you should always, like, it sounds weird, but you should always limit yourself first before you actually become creative. Because I feel like at first, if you allow yourself way too much space, it actually can hurt you, because you don't even know what the fuck you need to do, right? And as you're going alone, you can actually, allow yourself more and more space, but always fucking have some limits, right? So that's what we're gonna do right now, is the same way that I told you, last character, she was like a demon, with like the horns and the crazy hair. We're gonna write out some things that I'm thinking about this character. So the first thing that I'm thinking about is the hijab. I don't know if that's how it's spelled, man. I'm really fucking ignorant, but so the first thing is the hijab. Then I'm thinking I want her to have something on her forehead, right? Like a forehead. I don't know. for, how do you even spell this? Forehead design. And then I really like the thing that's kind of going on one shoulder, so which can kind of have, you know, one of the shoulders bare or something. But I know it's kind of fucked up, you know, because it's like, you know, the hijab is supposed to hide your body and all this shit, but it's not religious. This is fantasy, you know. That's the whole reason of creating imagination drawing, that it doesn't really have to make sense. So one shoulder, clothing, right? So that's the and don't, you know, don't go with like limiting yourself way too much, because you're gonna fuck yourself even more. You know, if you go out and write a full list of things, it's actually gonna hurt you, because, you know, you like won't even have any creativity. So try to keep it around like 3-4 things. You know, for example, demon, you know, pink hair, and like what did I say, the tears or whatever, right? So for today we have the hijab, the forehead design, and one shoulder clothing. So I first start out, you know, let me just get comfortable here. The thing is, you're gonna see me do is never let a bad drawing stop your creativity. Because I used to be like, I feel like I'm such a fucking perfectionist that if the drawing is not working out, I just get sad and I'm like, man, this is not gonna work out, and then my creativity fucks me up. What instead you should really think about this, like for example the sketches that I'm gonna do, don't even think about them as like drawings, you know, just think about them as you're really just coming up with ideas. So the same way we were just kind of like writing down, I didn't think about, you know, the words themselves, like how I wrote stuff. So it's like you shouldn't even be thinking about the way you draw right now. You should just only be thinking about ideas, because you know, when you're done with ideas, you can actually get the sketch and refine it and add details and all this stuff. But for now, really just keep your focus on the ideas, right? That's all I'm thinking about. And so you have the ideas, and then you have the pose. That's the second most important thing. It's really just the pose of the character. And I know a lot of people, you know, start out with the story of the character and the expression and all this shit, but I feel like for me it's kind of like the opposite. Like I always figure out the expression and the story as I'm kind of going along. You know, like for example, as I showed you with the demon, I really wasn't thinking that you know, she was like sad, and you know, then I wrote the story that she's coming from another planet, like to, you know, to copy people and all this shit. So I didn't even think of her as like a sad person, but then I drew the sketch and I was like, man, she kind of looks sad, you know, and I just raised the eyebrows and I just pushed the emotion. That's another thing, is when you're really just drawing a character, you really should be thinking, what is he thinking right now? But that's for later though. You know, don't fucking overcomplicate it, because you might be like, well, I need to think about the pose, I need to think about the story, I need to think about the expression. So it's really, you know, you should kind of break it down, right? So first is, first is really just design ideas. That's the first thing you should be thinking about. You know, what are some of the things that you want this character to have? Then the second thing is the pose. And the pose is really important, because the pose isn't, you know, you just looking at the character. The pose is everything, because it's really just the flow of the drawing. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that. Is when you really just look at the drawing. I mean, it kind of depends on what this drawing is for, but in my case, I'm such a fucking validation whore that all I'm interested in is getting Instagram likes. So this piece that I'm gonna do, it's, you know, it has a purpose to design a character, but the biggest purpose is for it to be, you know, for it to look good, right? For people to be inspired. And the way to people to get inspired is when it's really just beautiful, right? And the way for it to be beautiful is really to just have a flow and lightning and all this stuff. But you know, if you add lightning and good color and it doesn't have a good pose, it can never work. So I'm gonna kind of show you, you know, how to get this, you know, quote unquote good flow of a drawing. But it's something that I still struggle with, and I'm gonna kind of show you some artists that I feel like have amazing fucking flows. And what was her name though? Oh, actually I have one of her works over here for expression. I'm kind of keeping some artworks on my second monitor, kind of like this, just for inspiration. So I kind of forget her name. I think it was geez, I totally forgot her name. I'm sorry, but oh, Pernille. That's so weird that I thought about it. Let me show you Pernille. Okay, I don't even know how to spell it. Fuck that. So she's really a master at her at the flow thing, because if you look at the way the character is working, you know, it's just not boring. You know, it just, you can look at that shit for like hours. I mean, at least for me, right? So it's really important when you're sketching is to be thinking about interesting lines. And that's why I told you shouldn't limit yourself too much, because I'm trying to develop a design as I'm kind of going along with the lines. You know, for example, I might be drawing a head and I just might draw a line because I just feel like this line might help. And then I'm like, you know what, this can be like glasses and stuff. And then I draw like a circle and I'm like, you know, he can be like shining some light from here. So I'm really just, as I'm kind of going along, the most important thing about the whole thing is, you know, beautiful flow and beautiful design. And then you have all of the other things below it, right? So you start out with the design ideas, then you have the pose, then you kind of have the I guess the expression of the character, you know, thinking about what is this character thinking, what is he feeling, you know, is he happy, is he sad, you know, what is he really feeling right now. And for you to really just push this emotion, you know, if he's sad, try to make him more sad, you know. What's a way to make somebody look sad, you know, depending on, you know, exactly what sadness is. Sometimes it's to raise the eyebrows, sometimes it's to, you know, bring them together, you know, and really experiment with yourself, you know, in front of the mirror, you know. Try to, as goofy as this sounds, I swear this shit helps, you know. Sometimes I'll even be drawing and I'll do the expression, you know, as I'm drawing, and I'll be like, what do you do? And then you realize how you don't even know what people do. Like, you'll be like, what do even people do when they're sad? And you just kind of become sad, and you're like, oh, that's right, they just kind of bring their, you know, they bring their eyebrows together, and then they just do that shit with the mouth, right? So really just try to think about what the character is feeling. For example, this character right here is astonished, you know. You can see it in the eyebrows, and then you can see it in the iris, you know. If you, I should have talked about this in a previous stream, how important it is to not show the full iris, because otherwise she really just looks stunned. But if you actually pull it off and the character is supposed to look astonished and stunned, it looks beautiful, right? So even though this is like hyper fucking stylized, she kind of pulled off the fucking expression great. You know, you have the eyebrows, you have the lips, the eyes, and then you even have, if you look at the mouth, it's still kind of open, you know. You like, this pose and this character was not gonna work if the mouth was closed, right? Like, if you just have this mouth and you have the eyes open, it's not gonna work, right? So think about this, you know, really just put some thought into that. But it's, again, it's all about you just figuring out the pose and the design, and then figuring out the expression. But I just kind of wanted to talk about this. I'm sorry I still haven't gotten to the drawing itself. It's just kind of like my thought process and kind of the things to keep in mind before you start. And then when you have the expression, then you have color choices, you know, like color combinations. Then you have on the bottom, you have lightning, and then you really have, you know, you can actually, after you have these 5 things, then you can actually start working, you know. Then you can actually start, you know, like drawing the character. This is actually after I'm done with all these 5 things and I figured them out. That's exactly when I'm gonna start the line art, and then just basic colors, and then just add all these things. But you really need to figure out these 5 things before you even start, just so you know exactly what you're working for. And you know, if you're advanced, you know, you can start out with anything and just don't even care about anything. But as I kind of feel like a beginner myself with this imagination stuff, this is the things that help me, you know. So I just kind of wanted to share them with you, and maybe they help you as well, because when you really break it down into steps, it's just much easier to follow, rather than you just being like, what am I doing right now, right? So design, pose, expression, color, lightning, and then you actually, you know, like drop the opacity of everything. It's too bad because I don't think I actually saved, I actually did a thumbnail. Of this girl before I actually finished. I started working on it, and it's just one of those sketches before it was even refined like this, because I refined it like that because I just wanted to post it on Instagram, but it was actually even more rough. And I'm gonna show you exactly how rough this shit gets, you know. And I'm talking rough. That sounds funny. rough. So anyway, let me just merge all the fucking stuff. So let me just revise this shit. High jab, forehead design, and one shoulder clothing. Okay, so let's actually start. Let me see, we have 25 minutes. So I really need to do like 3 sketches, so we have 25 minutes. Three sketches, that's like 7 minutes per sketch, right? Or 8 minutes, but let's leave some time. So I'm doing 7 minutes per sketch. And it's really important to really just put on a timer and kind of focus, because otherwise, you know, you can be like, oh, let me just work 5 more minutes, and then you're just gonna, you know, you're just gonna get weird, and your creativity is actually gonna stop. You know, for me, my creativity actually happens when I know that there's limited time and I need to focus, right? Kind of like right now. So let's see. The first pose, I actually kind of have some poses in my head, because I actually wanted to have ideas before I started the stream, because I didn't want to go blank on you guys. But usually the way that I'm kind of come up with ideas is, first I'm gonna kind of look at the reference that I'm, you know, looking at, and I'm gonna just try to, you know, to warm up, I'm just kind of try to copy them and really just figure out what I'm looking for. And then as I'm going through, I'll just kind of like push the pose even more. So if you look at this one, it's just really straight. And that's another thing, by the way. When you're working from imagination, you really should be kind of staying away from like the main, you know, straight angle. And the reason for that is that, first of all, it's boring as hell, and nobody really just enjoys looking at if it's like perfectly fucking straight. And second of all, it's really just, it's more complicated. I don't think people realize that, but when you have a straightforward pose, you really need everything to be symmetrical, and being symmetrical is fucking hard. So I always recommend people to actually like try to come up with more extreme poses, and then actually bring them back, right? Like try to come up with like a crazy pose and then just bring it back a little bit. But if you actually, you know, when you're first starting out, it's kind of what happens with the sketches that I was doing before this. Actually, my first poses will always be generic as fuck, and then I'm going to get crazier ideas, but then they'll be too crazy. So I really just try to keep them back. Angel, can you shut the fuck up and actually draw? I can. And I'm gonna start right now. So let's say the first pose. Let's do the first pose with like her head kind of just going down and her eyes closed. And even though, you know, as I told you, I'm gonna be doing crazy poses later on, really just the first pose, I really want them to be something that I'm comfortable with. So I always start out with a circle. I'm gonna do a whole separate you know, I'm gonna do a whole separate tutorial on how to, you know, start out all this shit and all the planes and anatomy and all of that, because I can't really cover them at the same time. But I'm thinking that right now, let's just focus more on like the character itself, not really on the technique. So don't try to be, you know, don't try to be precise, don't try to be, you know, don't try to be exact, right? And as I'm drawing, my language is gonna get worse. I'm fucking warning you. So the thing is, when you're designing stuff, is really you should kind of stay away from drawing the whole face, because I definitely have a problem with that. Is because I want to make it beautiful. I start out with like, oh, let me draw the nose, let me do all this shit, and I actually forget to design stuff. So I only just draw like the eyes or the nose, depending on what's important in the pose. And I feel like, you know, her head kind of going down, it's important for you to see her eyes. So I'm thinking she can kind of have this really long kind of eyebrows. And then I'm just thinking about the high jab, right? How is the high jab kind of going around her hair, around her head? And something really important to start out with is always the ear. And I've talked about this before, but I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate the ear enough, because the ear is really where, you know, the side of the face is, and it really just connects the jawline. It connects, you know, if there's like sunglasses, it actually shows you exactly where the eyebrows is gonna be. So always draw the ear first, and then think about how you're gonna connect the whole drawing around the ear. So I'm just thinking her high jab is kind of going in like here, and then it's just kind of coming down on one side, and she kind of has the I'm thinking she kind of has the neck in here, and then she has the, okay, I kind of like the idea. I was thinking about, why am I sweating so much? It's so fucking hot. I'm thinking about the high jab in this reference kind of going around, you know, like one of her shoulders, because like if you just draw it like that, it's really just, it's gonna look like it's fucking hair, right? It's just gonna look boring. So every time you think about designing something, is even though you should start out with straight lines, it's really important to kind of, you know, make it look more interesting. And it's really just going with the flow. I don't know how to explain this, but You see this curve, like the neck curve. Like I could have just drawn this like that, right? Like I could just draw the neck right like that. And look at how big of a difference that makes if you draw this like that and if you draw it like that. Like just the whole pose becomes different. And it's all about, again, imagine if there's like a river. If you just drew a river, you can draw a river like that. You can draw it like that. And actually for you to, you can draw it like that, or actually you can draw it with an S curve. And the thing about beautiful S curves is that they're not always symmetrical. So this right here is more of a C curve, but if you actually draw it kind of like that, and then you have it going a little bit down and then moving, it actually becomes more of a C curve. I don't know if this shit makes any fucking sense. I'm still trying to figure out how to explain this to you, but whatever. So you kind of have the high jab. I'm thinking her nose is kind of like here. So if you have kind of the shoulders going in like that, and see how there's a lot of tension. It's a real weird word to use in here, but if you look at the top left, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of volume on the top left. So for you to really just balance out the whole painting, for it to not look like, all you're trying to do is not make this shit look boring, right? Is for you to stay away from what this looks like. If you look at this sketch, let me not delete this. If you look at this sketch right here, it's pretty much just like a square, and there's just a square on the bottom, right? Like you're trying to create like a beautiful design. Again, if you look at Peril's work, and I've been trying to look at this pose just to kind of copy it even more. If you look at her work, like look at how interesting the neck is. Like even though it's a simple pose, she kind of has the, you know, the shoulders kind of shrugged and the arms kind of shrugged. It still looks interesting because of all the flowy lines, right? It's all about the flowing lines, whether it's hair, whether it's neck. Oh shit, that was 7 minutes for the first character, and I haven't done shit. So kind of have the high jab going over behind her, and maybe I was thinking, should the high jab like go over her ear, because like in the reference it goes over the ear, but I was thinking like, what if she goes like back, you know, behind the ear, and maybe she can have like an earring, and then there's the jawline, and then here's her mouth, and then just look at how boring this is. Like it just goes from the top to the bottom, right? It's just like a straight line. Look how much more this shit is gonna add. Like just like a simple curve going from here to here. And I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking right now, but if you look at this curve coming from the neck down, look at how this goes like that, and it just goes in, right? And then just like my hand just wants to do the same in here, just for the pose to kind of look like it's flowing around, right? It's all about you just bringing the flow. I really sound like a crazy man who's been doing drugs right now, but I swear this shit is real. I swear it's real. So you can have kind of like the thing on her kind of like the shoulder going like that, and then you have something over here. So now I'm really happy with this pose, but I'm thinking, how can I make it even more interesting with the stuff on top, right? Like how can I bring even more shapes, right? So it's really, I'm not even thinking about practicability. I'm not thinking like, oh, is this shit gonna be heavy? Like none of that. It's all about what looks better. So I'm actually gonna start out with like some simple shapes, right? What if I do a curve like that? You know, what if this is like a moon? Then what if there's like two moons, you know, just going like that? That doesn't look too bad. What if there's like that, right? What if there's like two circles like that? So it's all about you just experimenting with different forms, and then just liking one form and thinking how you can actually make this better. Like I can't stress this enough. It's all about you just improving everything that you do, right? Like you put on a simple line, and that's why you see me use the Control-Z all the time. It's because I put in something and I'm like, wait, I can do this curve better. I can do it fucking better. And it drives you insane, but that's how you get better, right? So what if she has like the middle line just kind of going like that? And the thing about this pose is I really like the flowness of it, but I feel like it can become more tall, right? I feel like it's a little bit too wide. So I feel like the thing is, the thing that is kind of coming up can become even more like taller. And then you need to add something on the side. Like for example, look at this reference right here. You can add like little two balls, right? Just for this shit to be a little more interesting. And look at that shit. Like, and every time you add something to the character, it's really important for it to work with everything that you've added right now. You know, for example, if I had a crazy good idea, you know, for like, I don't know, like a what would look super silly. Like if I had like a, even that looks kind of good, but if I have an idea that, you know, on top of her hijab, Joshua said Reap Moon. Now I'm gonna bring it back. But if you had like an idea about like a circle and top, and it's just like some light coming in, and I don't know, some goofy shit, that doesn't look that good with the drawing, you know, because it's like it just kind of pushes it down, right? It doesn't let the whole flow of the drawing just kind of develop. You know, I really just look at all the curves, and I'm just really thinking, how can I, you know, let them move? How can I, you know, make it fucking free? I don't know. I'm really fucking crazy. So this is pretty much what a normal sketch is gonna look like, right? This is like a rough sketch, and I'm really just gonna push myself normally. You know, if I wasn't streaming, I'll push myself to do like 3-4 of these, and then I'm really just gonna work on them more. And working on them more really just involves you just thinking more about the pose. Like for example, look at this shit. Like this is supposed to be her other shoulder, but I just now saw that it's way too high. So if you actually bring this down, you know, it looks way better, but not that down. It looks way better, but the problem with this shit is that every time you move something, other things move as well. That, I mean, they're supposed to move, right? So it's kind of like harder than it sounds, you know. It's just like, oh, just go around and, you know, make it look better. You know, for example, the anatomy of the neck is not correct, and you just go and you correct it. But the problem is, how do you keep the same energy? And really the key word is energy, because this rough sketch is all about you just putting out the flow, you know, you're just making it interesting, you know. Again, if you look at, I even have this artwork that I'm kind of keeping on the side as a cheating code. Don't tell anybody. Look at how interesting the hair is. Look at how interesting the arm is. And I swear, like the background and everything, I swear I've been spending like fucking like 20 minutes just looking at artworks like that, just getting inspired, right? And when you're starting out with the rough sketches, it's all about you just putting in the energy and thinking about all these flowing lines. But then when you get to the details, it's so hard to keep the same energy. So first thing you should do is always do like snapshots and like save your sketches, just so you can kind of, you know, look at them later and be like, what did I like about this sketch that there's not in the final, you know, or like the finished drawing. So for example, and afterwards, because I don't think I'll have time to show you how I refine these sketches, for example, I'll add even more stuff, right? Like what if there's a choker, you know? And actually a choker is kind of like a cheat code, because they always look good, but I'm actually trying to refrain myself from using too much chokers. But for example, like what if you change her, you know, and I'll even get to like little stuff, like what if you change her, you know, earring, you know, what if it's longer? What if he's shorter? Oh, Christine is back, man. She said, hello everyone, how much did I miss? A lot of nonsense. But I'm happy you're here, Christine. I hope you can watch it later and stuff. I've really been talking about like, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Imagination drawing, and how I kind of developed the character and all of the notes and, you know, the flowy lines and everything. So after I start refining with all this cheating, I'm going to tell everyone you're a being stinky boy, yuck yuck. That's so funny. I really feel like that though. I really feel like a cheater sometimes, but then I realize, you know, this is all art is about. Is you just getting ideas scooped up together and then creating something new out of them. And that's why I don't really understand when artists are like, you know, don't fucking copy my art, don't fucking, I don't use reference. And it's like, bro, you're hurting the community. Like at the end of the day, there's no like one best artist, you know. The thing is, you're just moving, you know, as a fucking colony. I don't know, I'm really just, leave me the fuck alone with these long ass rants, because I get weird every time. So anyway, let's get to the second sketch. So this is kind of like the first one. And again, think about energy, think about the pose, and just come up with ideas. uh, Joshua says that's exactly what a cheater would say. I know, I really that's the thing about being a narcissist like me, is you always, you can always justify your shit. That's what I'm good at. I'm not really good at coming up with good ideas, but I'm really good at justifying my shitty ass old ideas. That's my thing. So anyway, let's do the second. Let's do the second pose. And for the second, I'm trying to think. I really like this pose. Really like the kind of like the side view. So I'm thinking, how can I combine these two, right? Like I want her to kind of be like a side. I was gonna say a side chick. I want her to have like a side profile. So always when you start out a side profile, always again start it out with a circle, and you do this line, you do this. But again, I'm gonna explain this in the future. For now, I'm just really just trying to think about design. I'm trying to explain to you more about the design rather than the anatomy of the head. So I'm thinking, how can I implement the high jab? And by the way, let me make this sketch smaller because I always have the tendency to draw way too big. So the thing is, you should always look at your previous sketches when you're drawing from imagination, just so you can get inspired from your old ideas. For example, like when I was first starting out, I was just thinking, she can have like one thing on her head, and now I'm thinking, what if she has like, these moon things, and then she has like two balls on the side, right? So I'm thinking, how can I implement my old ideas into my new ones, right? But again, it's not for certain that I'm gonna add exactly that. But when you don't have ideas, you can actually start out with that. So I'm gonna start out, what if she has these big ass moons and she has the little balls and stuff? How would that affect that? And you really just need to add like a couple of lines and then start out with that. For example, what if her neck is like that? What if you have the high jab kind of going from the back? And you can see I'm kind of just when I'm talking too much and I'm not being careful, I always get stuck with the same kind of flowy lines. So you can see how much that looks like that, right? Because it's like the same, it's like the same curvy line like this, and then it's on the back. So let's do something else. Let's do, what if the high jab actually goes the other way? What if it's like that, and then this line is kind of like that? That's different. And then it kind of shows through. Okay, look at that. That's really like 4 lines, really just 4 lines. And then from this, you can actually come up with more ideas. That's what I said, is just putting in a couple of lines. And then now that you kind of have the sides, you kind of have this and this, you can actually draw something on the top, right? And something on the bottom. So all you have to figure out, now that you kind of have the high jab, is what do you want for her head? Do you want something? And because I can kind of see that it's skewed, it's kind of going like that and like that, you either need to add something big in here, which I'm probably not gonna do because I want her focus to be on the head. So I'm actually gonna have to add something, on this side, just to kind of balance it out. Because if you look at it right now, if there's like a piece of paper, it's really just skewed, right? And that's the thing about good compositions, is balance. Like every time you add something on one side, you really need to balance it out on the other. So now I'm thinking, let's start out a new layer. And every time you make big decisions, like with designs and stuff, always start out like a new layer. So what if she has like just one thing like that? Again, look at how I'm always continuing the lines. Don't be like a party pooper. Don't be a cock blocker. Don't be like all these beautiful lines are doing their little own thing, and you just come in and you're like, nah, fuck them. She's just gonna have like a big ass horn in here. And like, look at this horn. Like it looks so ugly because like it doesn't help neither these lines nor this line. Like these lines would just want to go in here. This one just want to go in here. They just want to have a nice little orgy, and you're just in here going in with a fucking horn, right? You just don't fucking ruin it with a big ass dildo. That was really weird. Okay. So again, I'm trying to continue this line. So I'm thinking, can I continue it this way? Can I continue it this way? Now she kind of looks like that girl. What was the evil queen name? You know what? Let's go back to kind of the face. I always said I always draw the eyes first, so you can kind of like look at where the character is facing. So let's draw a little bit of of the eye. And you know what? Let's have her eye open, because it's kind of like a cheat code. Again, I've really been using all these cheat codes, but it's kind of like a cheat code to use constantly fucking closed eyes, because it's just so easy to draw. So you know what? Let's make her completely. No, you know what? Fuck that. I was gonna say completely profile, but actually let's turn it to the side a little bit. Let's have her kind of. Nah, but it's gonna look too much like this one. Fuck it. Let's go back. So let's make it completely profile view. So you can kind of have the eyebrow going like this, and you have the cheekbone. And again, it's really important to know like the rhythm of the lines. That's why I said, you know, you shouldn't even be doing character sketches, because how the fuck are you gonna design something interesting if you don't know, you know, the structure of the face? You know, you don't even know how to draw like a normal face. You can make an interesting composition if you don't know how to make a normal composition, you know? So let's add a little bit of the nose. Let's merge this shit. A little bit of the nose. Then you have the hijab. Remember, we have the hijab kind of going in here. It's her head. Don't forget there's an earring. Oh, the earring is gonna pass so well. Oh, that's such a good fucking design. Sometimes I'll fucking that's when I know I was meant to do this shit. Like, as much as I talk about not being an art person, then I do some art shit, and I'm just so proud of myself. Like, I feel like I'll get hard just like out of good design. I'm like, oh, this is so fucking good. So we kind of have the hijab, and later on it's gonna be really interesting to kind of like play around with you know, different like hijab designs, you know, and like little folds kind of stacking on top. You know, that's the thing, is it's kind of like called the cake effect. When you have things stacking upon each other, it's really easy to add design, because all you have to do is just kind of move. You know, for example, if you move this one, I actually did it kind of natural. That's so weird. You just move this and then you move this. It's immediately better than you just kind of stacking it upon each other. You know, it's just kind of moving, you know, parts of the same pyramid, right? Whatever. So look at that line. That line is so important. I actually added it last. So her head was actually going this way, right? It was just kind of going inside. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, this actually just looks boring, because like, look at how interesting this is, and then her hair just kind of goes in here, right? Her hijab. So I was like, what if there's like the opposite way, right? What if there's the opposite curve? And that's why it's so important to know exactly when to use curves and exactly when to use straight lines, because again, if you only use straight lines, it's gonna look fucking rectangular, and if you only use curves, it's gonna look wishy-washy. So really, the combination is so funny, because I talked about this in a new video that's gonna come out on Monday on my YouTube channel. I really feel like the perfect character is like a combination between male and female. You know, all the shit that people say, use straight lines for males and use curves for females. I'm like, fuck that. The perfect character is, it has both. It has like, it has other things from the opposite gender, you know, because that's what, you know, the eye is. Like, there's beauty in men, there's beauty in fucking women, you know. I'm pretty sure that's fucking sexist. I don't know how, but it somehow is. So anyway, this line is really important, because it's kind of like, it brings even more balance to the whole thing. And you kind of have the, what if her hijab is just kind of sticking out like that, and it's just kind of like going in here. And then you have, what if kind of actually it ends in here? And then on top, so let's start a new layer. So now I'm thinking, now that I actually added this line, you can't just continue with this one, you know, because that's gonna look really weird if you just continue this one, the one that I said it was the party pooper, because you already fucking discontinue it, right? Once you discontinue it, you can't continue this one, because it's just gonna look like it's actually coming out of her head. You know, it's actually gonna look like like a fucking horn. I don't know what's my problem with horns. But the thing is, when a line ends, you know, with another line, when you add the third one on top, for example, this one, it has to either continue this one or this one. It can't continue the one before that, because it's just gonna look weird, right? So now the fucking idea that she has like a moon in here, actually, nah, it looks bad. So now I'm thinking, how can I continue this line, right? Or how can I oppose it, you know? There's kind of like, what if she has like just one thing? I'm trying to figure it out. If she has like only one thing. DJ says, so your own masterpiece, your professional lesbian. Oh, that's such a great compliment. I really am my own masterpiece, because I've really been getting both the female and the male shit. Man, if I only grow some boobies right now, I would be so happy with myself. Like shit, ain't nobody can tell me nothing. Just woke up with a pair of boobies and I'll be like, man, I don't need anybody. Like I got titties, I got dick, bitch, please. Okay. Okay, so what if she? This is like kind of like the idea that I had about her just having like one piece. So I'm just gonna snapshot that and let's try with her having like kind of two pieces. What's gonna happen if she kind of has two balls? And again, I'm not, you know, like look at how simple these lines are. I'm not trying to complicate it. The thing about beautiful designs is not you just stacking lines upon each other, you know, and just adding a lot of details. It's actually just keeping it simple, right? It's just you keeping things beautiful but just well thought out, right? That's why all this shit is just so beautiful, because it looks like it was drawn in 20 minutes, but it was actually probably drawn in fucking 3 hours, right? So what if she has like the two balls and then she just has kind of something in the middle? What if she has like little feathers, like little things kind of coming out? That's pretty much the process, right? And I'll just go back and I'll be like, what looks more interesting, this or this? Because obviously this looks more interesting, but which helps more the design? And that's the thing, you should never be this is gonna sound weird, but you should never be selfish with your ideas. You know, you should never be like, oh, I just had this crazy idea, so let me just make it work because I really like the idea about the two balls. And you shouldn't be just thinking about this specifically. You should be thinking about the whole thing. Always be thinking about the whole thing. Always be thinking about, you know, the character in general, the whole piece. You know, don't be thinking about just zooming in and being like, oh, this will look really good if it's kind of like that. You know, and you just zoom out and it's way too big, right? That's why that's the reason why I always stay zoomed out. You know, if you look at all my videos, I never go in like, oh, maybe just like for some details at the end of the painting I might go in like here, right? But I always just stay in here when I'm sketching, right? So always stay far away from it and look at it as a piece, as a whole piece, right? So I kind of feel like she's gonna stay with this, with the simple one, and then just maybe have like two little ones, right? And then let's figure out where her neck is gonna be. And it's so easy, because once you have all the interesting shapes, it's so easy to actually figure out the other stuff. What if she has her? Actually, it's not that easy. It's so funny whenever I say that and then I fuck it up. What if she has? And remember, we want to actually add the thing about like with the shoulder and stuff. I mean, that was my idea, but if it doesn't look good, I'm not gonna add it, because I feel like it's not gonna help in this. You know, but for some reason my hand just wants to go that way, because if it goes that way, you just completely cut off the whole piece, right? If you go that way, you actually help the piece, because it kind of goes in here and it's like bam, you know, it actually surprised the eye. So what if her hijab kind of goes in here and it's just like really long? Oh, Christy actually is here. She says, when I was studying film, we always said kill your darlings, which means don't fall in love with your idea. Always test others, and sometimes you need to kill your personal best idea to get the best result. I love this, Christy. This is so beautiful, man. That's exactly what I thought. It's exactly what I thought, because when you're coming up with a design, you're really just stacking ideas upon each other, and if you really just get stuck in one idea, it's really just gonna kill you, right? Anyway, let's get to the third sketch, because it's been an hour already and I got stuff to do, but I really wanted just to do 3 sketches, so I'm sorry, I just talk way too much and I can't even focus on this shit. But maybe I can actually later like record my process and just like show you the final piece and stuff, but you're gonna see it on Instagram. So this is like the second one, and let's do something crazy. Let's do something for the third one. So what if let's make them smaller, because I need more space. Always needs more space, my man. So what if she has, what if she's looking kind of to the side? You know, what if she's kind of like, You know, what if she's kind of like looking creepily at somebody? Again, I'll always start out with the eyes, just because, and if you're a beginner, you should never fucking start with that shit because it's gonna ruin your whole structure of the head. But because I start out with that, it actually allows me to, you know, really fast decide exactly where the whole the whole flow of the piece is going. Why do I need even more space? What the fuck is happening? You know what? I need to zoom in a little bit. So what if she kind of like, if she's kind of like looking? So that's basically the. Nah, she's not looking to the side enough though. I want her to really just be looking at the side. And again, it's out of proportion, all this shit, but it's not really important at the moment. All I'm trying to figure out, again, is try to find these beautiful shapes, you know, like the flow lines. So where is her hijab? First, let's draw the ear. You have the top hijab kind of going in here. What if she had like a really long thing? Now let's not get crazy for now. So there's two choices. Either her hijab can go really long on this side, or her hijab can go on this side. Let's do both, right? Let's do a snapshot, and let's just get on this side. Let's try out. So first thing I'm gonna try out, let's say her hijab kind of goes in here like that, and you can kind of see every time I do something for the first time, it's kind of gonna look boring. You know, for example, I do this straight line, and now I'm thinking, how can I make it more interesting? How can I, you know, what if it kind of goes in here and goes like that, or what if it goes like that and it kind of comes out? And every one of these choices can actually affect the sketch way more than you think, right? You might be thinking, oh, what is this little, you know, thing might affect, but it actually can affect the whole shoulder movement on the other side, because for some reason, you know, when you add this curve, just my hand wants to go in here, and if you add this curve, my hand wants to go that way, right? It's complete balance, you know. I don't know how to explain this shit. You kind of have the neck going in like that, and then you have the shoulder. I need more space. How many layers do I have? Jesus Christ. So you kind of have like that, and then you have her shoulder. What if she's kind of like doing this, like I was gonna say some nasty shit, but I'm not gonna though. Your boy becoming a better person. So what if she has kind of like her arm like that, and then you have this, and then you kind of have this one showing, and then you have this kind of going over her shoulders, right? And then maybe you have like a boobie showing, and then there's a nipple. Now I'm just kidding. So all I'm thinking about is how can I balance this, and I feel like it's a little too bare on the one shoulder. So what if there's like another one kind of going in here, or maybe in here? Now I kind of like it for now though. Let's leave it like that, and let's try the other side. Remember, that's just her hijab going on this side. What if it's going actually the other side? Let's make it a little bit longer though. And the hijab is kind of going like that, and then there's, look at how much more interesting that's gonna make it, by the way, is if you don't add anything here, but look if you just add a little something. Right? It just completely changes the way you look at her hijab. Is because if you just show the back just kind of coming through her neck, it just shows more 3D form. It just shows more flowiness. So every time you're drawing something in space, you really need to be thinking about the whole thing kind of moving. You know, you shouldn't be just like, you know, it's kind of be showing like here, and then you don't even think about the other side. Always be thinking about all of the sides, you know, whether it's hijab, whether it's hair, whatever it is, it always has multiple sides, and you really need to picture them inside your head, right? So there's her earring. Oh, the earring can kind of balance everything out. And then I know I said I was gonna go to the other pose, but let's kind of figure out this one. So what if she has like a little something like here, or actually the two balls thing. No, I feel like only one thing is kind of like that. Okay, it's kind of cool. Let's try out the other side, and I'm gonna end the stream, man. It's been kind of long, but I really been feeling myself with this shit. It's so funny. I thought the live stream with the imagination shit is really gonna suck because I really have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. It actually turned out pretty okay, man. You kind of have the high jab. No, you know what? I don't like the high jab going this way because it's just gonna. No, but you know what? Oh, what if? Oh shit! Oh shit! What if it actually comes in here? She actually goes like that, and then her shoulder, like she's actually going, like she's almost like bent over. That sounds dirty. Yeah, I love it. So her high jab is kind of like that, and this is kind of going in here. But where is her other shoulder though? Other shoulder is kind of like that. Oh, these fucking layers. So it's kind of like that, and this shoulder is gonna be there, and then this shoulder is gonna be with that shit. And then as I'm kind of going through, if you know, if I wasn't live streaming and I didn't have to talk all the time, I would actually be thinking about, you know, as I'm kind of developing ideas, I'm gonna be thinking about like different color combinations and all these things that I mentioned in the beginning. You know, I might be thinking about lightning. You know, might be thinking, oh, it's gonna be so cool. You know, if there's like her high jab is like it had like backlit, or I might be thinking about, you know, what if, you know, this high jab is like the same color as this, or like her earring, or you know what I'm saying, like I just might be thinking as I'm drawing and using other things to help me with the design. You know, I might be, as weird as it sounds, you might use the color to help you with the design, because for example, if you make this the same color as this, you're gonna look at it a different way if you look the high jab, you know, but the bottom part the same color as this, right? It's just gonna, it's again, it's all about you just making things work together, right? So her shoulder is kind of like that, and her other shoulder is kind of covered. The thing that I don't like about this pose is that there's not like a great opportunity to add like a beautiful earring. I don't know, for some reason I feel like this earring is gonna be a big part of this piece, and if you just add it in here, it kind of looks boring, but you know, whatever. And that's another thing, don't judge your ideas before you're done. Like I have a big problem with that, because you know, I have like a limited amount of ideas because I'm not really that creative. I always, you know, as I'm going kind of with the idea, I'll be like, man, this sucks. And then I'll like, nah, man, just relax and just kind of go with the flow. And then when you're done, you can actually decide if it sucks, right? So what if he actually goes in here? What if there's like the two balls? Oh, look at that though. Look at how interesting that is. It just kind of goes in here. Ooh, I like that. I like that. And she just kind of looks, you know, just kind of looks like impress me type of face. She kind of looks like a rabbit. And again, you know, there's so many ways you can go with this. Even though, you know, we limited ourselves with like the high jab and the forehead thing, there's like a limited fucking amount. Oh, what if her nose is actually going like the other way, and she's actually like really ugly, and she has big ass teeth, and she's smoking like a cigar? Okay, that's awful. So I think I'm definitely gonna go with the other design. Anyway, this is it for today, man. Those are the 3 sketches. Those are the 3 rough sketches that I did. Now that I look at them, they look fucking horrible. But something to notice, again, it's all about the design. It's all about the fucking ideas. You know, later I'm gonna make them pretty and good looking and all this shit. Oh, my mom is fucking cleaning the house in the other room. I don't know if you can hear this shit. But something to notice is how in the first sketch I was really just like, look how shy I was, like with my lines and everything. Like they were smaller, they were less pushy. And then in this one, even like the second one, look how more bold they are, look at how more confident they are. And that's the thing to get away from this is it all becomes better with practice. You know, even though my third sketch looks worse than my first one, I believe it has more design, it has more, you know, confidence, it has all this shit. So anyway, as in closing words, stick with it, man. Don't get fucking discouraged. find some good reference. Make sure that you know you have a good idea before you start. Don't be like, oh, I'm just gonna draw a unicorn. You know, try to come up with something a little bit more interesting. You know, actually for my last idea was a demon. You know what? Scratch that. Don't fucking judge your ideas. So anyway, this is it for today, man. Thank you so much for everybody watching. I really had fun doing this shit. I really did. Thank you again for everybody supporting me on Patreon. I think I have 27 people. $330. It means so much, man. This shit allows me to actually keep doing these videos for you. So thank you so much. Oh shit, 5 people watching. I love you, everybody. I'm gonna talk to you next week. Send me your work, angelganf6@gmail.com, and I'm gonna see you next week, bitch. Whoa.